What's the word, y'all? We're back with another episode. Today, it's finally here. We got March Madness on the horizon. Tomorrow, 10:15 a.m. first game start. Currently, we got Miami, Ohio beating SMU out for the final 11 seed matchup to take on Tennessee. So, as we're talking, we're going to be tuning into that, making sure, we have everything finally complete as we fill out our bracket here. This is the final bracket episode you're going to need to watch before you make your own brackets tonight. I've already gone through and made about 9 or 10. We'll see how many more I make tonight, but this is my bracket for y'all. We're going to go off vibes. We're going to go off eye test, and we're going to go off a little bit of some analytics, right? Get a feel for it. Be the first to get the perfect bracket in the 1 in 9.2 quintillion chance. So it's going to be fun. Let's hop right into it. Now, looking at the East region, this is one of the hardest regions to predict, okay? I can convince myself of every team getting upset here, except for maybe Duke Siena. Maybe Kansas Cal Baptist as well. When I'm looking at it, Duke's easy. Let's get that out the way. Now, something to note for the later rounds, we'll get into that later. Duke missing starting point guard Caleb Foster, and then starting center Pat Ngongba is out for at least this round, probably the next round, and maybe even the Sweet 16. But we'll see the updates is that he's the biggest piece, right? Caden Boozer stepped into that starting point guard role. He's actually played pretty solid over the last couple games. So missing Caleb Foster is not the end of the world. Obviously, you'd like to have him back, though, because he's a consistent player. But let's talk about the first game tomorrow, the 8-9 matchup, Ohio State and TCU. You've probably seen everyone's telling you TCU right now. I'm going the same way. Okay. There's a couple guys over there that are playing phenomenal. And when you just look at TCU, they've played really tough against some of these better teams in the country. And we're even talking teams in other conferences. So just looking at it, right, they beat Florida, which is an impressive win. They beat Wisconsin. They went on and, they beat a lot of the lesser teams in their conference. They went on a little skid, though, here with a 4-game losing streak and then obviously losing to Houston. But they beat Arizona State. Notable win. They recently beat Texas Tech, Cincinnati, and then they did end up losing to Kansas in the Big 12 tournament. So TCU's been tough. They don't play as well in conference. However, Ohio State being a Big 10 team, I'm confident. I don't love the Big 10 this year. Big 10, SEC, SEC is a little more solid than I think people do give them credit for, but I'm not huge on the Big 10 this year. Now, Ken Pom has Ohio State winning this game in a close matchup, and gives them a 39% chance to win. However, I am going TCU. Also, just a couple quick things to note here. They turn the ball over at a really high rate, and they have a really great defense. I think this defense, on the opposite end, Ohio State doesn't play the greatest defense. They play a quick pace, and they're going to shoot the ball a lot. I think this kind of defense is perfect for Ohio State, and so that's why I'm going with TCU. St. John's, I really wanted to go UNI here. But looking at UNI's numbers, I just couldn't do it. And here's the thing, y'all. Like, everybody has St. John's as one of their, Cinderellas, if you will, to make the Final Four. I don't know if I'd go that far, but we'll look at some of their numbers here in a second. Northern Iowa gets killed. They don't offensive rebound. They don't get offensive rebounds at all. That's going to hurt them. They're horrible. They hardly get to the line, and when they do, they suck at the line. That's just not a recipe for success in March Madness. And there was one more thing I wanted to point out. They're pretty good offensively. Tempo. They have one of the slowest tempos in the league. Not that you have to have a quick tempo to succeed, but for St. John's defense, their defense in the half court is phenomenal. And so I just don't love this matchup for them. Everything. Oh, and here's the other thing as well. They defend the 3 ball phenomenal. Okay. But St. John's isn't trying to shoot threes. And so that's what it is that really hurts them for me is St. John's isn't relying on the 3 to win. And so I think a team that's really good at defending the 3, it's not going to matter. St. John's is also quick in pace. They're solid on offense, 12th on defense. Okay. They allowed 94 a game. A mid-major team comes in. They're not going to be very effective scoring, especially if they can't get to the line. And also St. John's, though UNI allows I believe, 14th least amount of offensive rebounds. St. John's is 27th in offensive rebounds. So I like St. John's here to move on despite the potential upset that is exciting. 12-5 also notable to look at. The 12-5 is the biggest upset likelihood in the first round. So be aware of that. Kansas moves on past Cal Baptist. Cal Baptist barely got past Utah Valley, who lost today to George Washington, and Cal Baptist barely won off of a missed putback dunk. So moving on to Louisville, South Florida. Now listen, y'all. Everybody's telling you go South Florida. South Florida's cool. They haven't played anyone really, and Louisville has a quick pace. They shoot the 3 ball really well. Their biggest weakness is the big play. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. And I was really pissed because I was so happily going Louisville until it just came out today that Michael Brown Jr. is going to miss this round and potentially, most likely, next round. That being said, I'm still going Louisville. Okay, this feels like a spot. The entire world is going South Florida. Louisville puts BTA to teams that aren't too great, right? Now, South Florida, again, they're a good team, especially in their region. But Louisville gets beat by top 25 teams, and they get the job done against non-top 25 teams. So I like Louisville moving on here, despite the unpopular opinion. Another potential upset here you could see is North Dakota State and Michigan State. I'm going Michigan State, though. Looking at North Dakota State, they don't do anything crazy. And again, they don't get to the line very often, okay? Their offense isn't great. Their defense isn't great. Their tempo isn't great. And again, you don't have to have a high tempo. I actually almost prefer slower tempo teams in March Madness. But when your offense isn't great and your tempo's not great, probably something that doesn't add up. And then again, they don't get to the line, and even when they do get to the line, they don't make their free throws. So that concerns me. And they don't turn the ball over a lot, which is good. They do cause more turnovers. But if I'm not mistaken, and they do hold teams to not defend it at a high rate. So, and if I'm not mistaken, though, Michigan State takes care of the ball pretty well. No, they actually don't. They suck. So, that's something to look for is Will they be able to get them in comfortable, force a lot of steals? That's where I think the narrative of maybe an update for North Dakota State is here. But I mean, you look at Michigan State, their offense phenomenal, their defense phenomenal. Have they struggled a little bit lately? Yes, I think that's why people are low on them. Back-to-back losses to Michigan, and then in the Big Ten Conference, they lost to UCLA. So I think that's why people are low on them and kind of projecting a big disparity here. And they also rely on the three and whatnot a little bit more. So, or I guess they kind of do. But yeah, so I'm gonna go Michigan State here though. I could again really easily see this being an upset. I just don't trust it. I think these higher end teams are just a lot better than these mid major teams this year. I know 20 out of the last 25 years there's been Cinderella runs and upsets from the 13 and on. I just don't know if I see it. Okay. UCLA, UCF. I love UCLA here. They're one of the hottest teams in the country. And as long as they're fully healthy, I think they could potentially make a run this year as they run into UConn next round. But because I love UCLA so much, of course UCF is going to get the dub, so watch out for that. Moving on, this is actually my favorite 15 seed upset. Furman's not even good. I think I just like the idea of them getting the upset because of the past. They won their tournament, but they don't really they haven't really played great this season. And UConn is someone that everyone's sleeping on because of the recent struggles. But Dan Hurley said it himself. They're not a Big East team. Okay, they're a team made for March Madness. That's why I think UConn's going to get the job done here. Okay, Duke moves on past TCU. Don't be surprised if this is a close game, though. TCU is tough. Okay, they play great defense. They're big. They're physical. They rebound well. They're gonna cause issues for Duke. Okay. Now St. John's, Kansas. This is one of my toughest games to predict here. I think St. John's is a little overrated coming out of the Big East. Kansas plays well. I'm gonna go Kansas. That one's strictly vibes. Both teams play great defense. Both teams have solid offense. Both teams have great pace. Both teams have good experience. Kansas has Darren Peterson. Now, you might say Darren Peterson's been having issues that could cause locker room issues and drama, and St. John's wins 100%. But I'm going to go Kansas here because maybe he turns up. Okay, and I kind of like what they got going on over there. Louisville, Michigan State. It's Michigan State, easy. Louisville doesn't perform well against good teams. Michael Brown Jr. might be out. So yeah, I'm rolling with Michigan State here. And then we're gonna go UCLA, UConn. I want to go UCLA so bad because I want my bracket to be interesting. Do I go UCLA or UConn? UConn's played phenomenal. Look at this. Like, they've gotten a lot of criticism for they lost to St. John's twice, including in the Big East Conference tournament. They lost to Creighton. That was a bad loss. They lost to Marquette. That was a horrific loss. But again, they're not a Big East team. Look at this. BYU dub. And this BYU game looks fully healthy BYU, closer than it should have been. They were up 25 at half. Arizona barely lose. Okay. Then they go and they beat Illinois, kill Illinois by 13. Kansas beat Kansas. Florida beat Florida. Texas, not an easy team, beat Texas. And then they kind of just got the job done in conference from there on. St. John's killed them, even though they've lost to St. John's twice. Somehow just beat them by 32 randomly here. So, and then we look at this. They're 11th in defense, 30th in offense. They play a slower pace, and I think that's why they struggle in the Big East is Again, St. John's defends well against slow-paced teams. They don't shoot the craziest this year. Like, you think of UConn, you think of white boy shooters. They don't really shoot like that this year. They also don't get crazy assists, so that's something interesting. But also, their offensive rebounding is great, and then they also do a solid job not allowing offensive rebounds. They turn the ball over a little more than you'd like for a UConn team. They also get a good amount of steals, though, so that kind of makes up for it. And yeah, so I like UConn here. UCLA's tough, man, but and I really want to go UCLA. If you go UCLA, I'm not mad at it, but I'm gonna go UConn here. Just because I think they're the better team. Duke, Kansas. This is where Kansas falls apart. I'm hoping by this point Pat's healthy. And but don't be surprised if Kansas's numbers look really good. Another team that people are sleeping on. The Big 12 is the toughest conference in college basketball, but I'm gonna go Duke. I don't love it, but I'm gonna go Duke. Duke's numbers are literally historical. I believe like third in offense, fourth in defense. Nuts. And analytics just love them. UConn, Michigan State. I'm not super high on Michigan State. Yes, I had them moving past these two teams, but I don't love their offense as much as I maybe could. I think there's a lot left to be desired there. Okay, Duke, UConn. This is so tough. This is so tough. Most of my brackets, I've been going Duke. But like I said, man, UConn barely lost Arizona. They got a good squad over there. They got Solo Ball leading the charge for those boys. And they play really good team ball, especially in the tournament. Give me UConn. I don't love it, but give me UConn. If Caleb Foster's still out as well, and who knows if – let me see something. Yeah, I mean, they defend the three ball really well. And Duke likes to shoot threes with those wings. Cam Boozer going to do his thing. But, yeah, give me UConn to get the job done here. Okay, moving on to the West region. Arizona's easy. Shout out LIU. Fins up. Only time you're going to hear it, okay? I have Arizona. I'm rooting for LIU. You always want to see these 16 seed upsets. This is not my favorite 16 seed upset. Okay. So Arizona's going to move on with ease. Utah State moves on. Villanova's not really healthy. They also haven't looked great this year. Okay. Utah State's been pretty solid. Wisconsin, High Point. This is a trap game. Okay. Again, everybody's telling you take High Point. High Point does not play good ball. Okay. They're like 250th in strength of schedule. Can they get hot and beat a Wisconsin team? 100%. But Wisconsin's also one of the hottest teams in the country right now. Arkansas, Hawaii. I love this matchup for Arkansas. You'll see I'm big on Arkansas. They're, I've been talking about teams that are hot coming into the tournament. Arkansas might be the hottest team in the tournament coming off of a SEC championship run. So Arkansas, Hawaii. Hawaii plays great defense, but they play ISO defense. And they also want you to take long twos. Literally everything perfect for Arkansas. Arkansas plays ISO ball, and they take long twos. Arkansas could literally have 0 assists in this game, and they would still win. So give me Arkansas. BYU, Texas, this is really tough. Initially, when I was looking at it, I'm ACC biased, UNC, come on. Initially, when I was looking at it, I said if NC State beat Texas yesterday, I would like NC State to get the dub here. But now, looking at some of the stats and everything, if I'm BYU, I'm almost more scared of Texas. But give me BYU. AJ DeBonsa is gonna do his thing. Gonzaga over to Kennesaw State. This is my favorite 3-14 matchup. Kennesaw State could get a sneaky upset here. Gonzaga's defense is really nice, though. So I like Gonzaga here. Kennesaw State's not really been even that good, but for some reason I just don't like Gonzaga this year. We'll get into that later. Miami, Missouri. I love Miami. Miami is one of my favorite teams in the tournament. I think they play great ball. Their forward, Renault, is phenomenal on both ends of the floor, so I really like him. Purdue, going to kill Queens. This is their last year being called Queens. They're going to change the name. I don't care what their name is. Purdue's moving on. Here's my only thing. I'm really upset here because I was telling co-host Chase, Mr. Football, he's been into college ball quite a bit as well. I've been telling him that if wherever Purdue's at, I thought they were going to be either a 3 or 2 seed. Obviously, they're a 2 seed now. Wherever they get put at, I'm going to have them losing before the Sweet 16, but their path is so easy. Okay, so they move on. Now back on top, Arizona State, Utah State. It would be so fun for Utah State to get the dub here. It's not going to happen, though. Arizona State's the best team in college basketball. Spoiler alert. Arkansas, Wisconsin. This is where Wisconsin's hot streak ends. I don't love Wisconsin's defense. I think Arkansas, even though Arkansas's defense is inconsistent, they have the players to play defense, and I love Darius Acuff. I love Malik Thomas, right? Acuff's going to give you 35. Malik Thomas is going to give you 25. They've got sorry, I'm spacing the names now. They've got Brazil playing forward as well. Great defender. They got Richmond, great defender. So, yeah, give me Arkansas. Hottest team in basketball. I've even had brackets where I have them going to the Final Four and knocking out Arizona here. So we'll get into that in a second. I got BYU over Gonzaga. Gonzaga's probably going to take it, but I want to see the number one. AJ DeBonta is the best player in basketball, in my opinion. I don't care for the Darren Peterson theatrics. I don't. Cam Boozer's cool, great player in basketball, but he's number 3 in my opinion. BYU gets the dub here. Gonzaga's got a tough defense, so that's what I'm concerned about how they're going to play DeBonta and if teams are just going to double DeBonta, I could see BYU losing first round. So this is where my bracket's going to get busted here. First round, BYU loses to Texas, and I'm cooked. But I have them going at least to the Sweet 16. Okay. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. Gonzaga's beating BYU. Gonzaga didn't make the Sweet 16 last year. They're due to make it this year. And they're going to play good defense on DeBonta. Okay. Miami, Purdue. I really want to go Miami here. But then that means I either have Miami or Gonzaga in my lead 8, and I just can't do it. Purdue's gonna go here. Purdue's been playing good ball lately. I'm gonna go Purdue as well. Braden Smith's gonna get the job done. And he's gonna stand out. Braden Smith is a tourney-made guy. Shout out, numbers on the board, hashtag tourney-made. Or shout out Pierre. But yeah, this is how it's looking. I don't love it. I do not love it at all on this west side. But give me Arizona over Arkansas. And then Arizona is going to beat Purdue. Arizona is just super tough. Okay. Getting into the South. Now, this is obviously my favorite side of the bracket because UNC is here. Sadly, though, Caleb Wilson's out, so we'll see what happens. Florida over Prairie View, pretty easy. Everybody's going Iowa over Clemson. I also was big on Iowa over Clemson. After looking at the stats and stuff, I like Clemson. I like Clemson's pace. I like Clemson's defense better. Iowa turns the ball over at a high rate. I like Clemson here. Vanderbilt, McNeese. It's not happening. McNeese has made the runs. In the past, everyone kind of likes McNeese here. Here's what I'm going to say. Vanderbilt should be a 3 seed. Somehow they're a 5 seed. And here's where it's dumb. Florida just lost to Vanderbilt by like 17 points, and now they have to see them again here in the future, here shortly. Spoiler alert. The issue with McNeese and why I don't have them beating Vanderbilt is McNeese's biggest strength is they turn the ball over. That's great for March Madness. The only issue is their matchup in Vanderbilt is one of the best teams at taking care of the ball, and they have one of the best offenses in the league, so or in the country. So Vanderbilt moves on pretty convincingly here. Troy, Nebraska. This is probably my most likely 4-13 upset, but Troy just doesn't really play great ball. Well, they play great ball, but they haven't had any competition. They've gotten smoked by anyone good they've had to play. Though I don't love Nebraska, they're going to get their first. Now, this is where it's interesting. First ever tournament win. So, a lot of pressure on Nebraska for this game. That's where they could choke, and you could easily see Troy here. But when everyone's going Troy, I'm going to go Nebraska because I have Vanderbilt winning anyways. North Carolina is going to get the job done against VCU. Everybody's going VCU, and it pisses me off. North Carolina hasn't even played bad since Caleb Wilson's gone down. They lost a tough one in the ACC tournament. They should have won. They're going to bounce back here against VCU. VCU's not as good as everybody's saying they are. They are big, but so is North Carolina. Illinois, Penn. Penn's got that dude over there that's been stroking it lately. I'm forgetting his name, so I apologize. No disrespect, but I'm going to go Illinois pretty convincingly. They have the second best offense in the league. So they're running the ball, and this team is nuts on offense. St. Mary's, Texas A&M. I've been pretty high on St. Mary's. Texas A&M has looked rough in a lot of their games. They have had a much stronger strength of schedule, but give me St. Mary's. Houston, Idaho. I'm going Houston pretty convincingly. The only thing I don't love about this bracket is that I don't have a lot of upsets. But I just feel like this is a year that there's not going to be a lot of upsets, Maybe we'll get into some here in the next couple rounds, but we'll see what happens. Florida, Clemson. Give me Florida pretty convincingly. Okay. And then for North Carolina, Illinois, this is where Illinois gets the job done. North Carolina just is not going to have what it takes. And then Houston, pretty easy over St. Mary's. And then I'm going to go, okay, give me Vanderbilt. They're going to do it again. I'm high on Vanderbilt. They went toe-to-toe with Arkansas, who I'm also high on. I don't love Florida as much as I liked Florida's team last year. And for that reason, I am going to go Vanderbilt. 3 Illinois, 2 Houston. I really want to go Illinois here. Again, number 2 offense, but check out Houston's numbers here. Houston is kind of nuts as well. They're 13th in offense, and they're 5th in defense. A slow pace, but Illinois doesn't have a great defense. Their effective field goal percentage on defense is 17th. They hold teams to 46% effective field goals. That's nuts. Only thing I don't love is they don't get to the line very often. And they shoot a lot of threes. And they don't make an insane amount. That's the biggest thing I don't love about Houston. They live or die by the 3, but they're really good. Coming off an Arizona loss, I think they're gonna be fired up. And Emmanuel Sharp has been playing horrible basketball lately. I wouldn't be surprised if he turns it up in the tournament like he did last year. So give me Houston. Vanderbilt, Houston. Again, I really want to go Vandy. Give me Houston in the Final Four. Okay. And then we move over to the Midwest final round or final region here. This is my favorite upset. My favorite 116 upset. I'm going Michigan, though. No 16 seed is going to get the job done. If they do, it'll be absolutely electric. I'm rooting for every 16 seed. Georgia, St. Louis. Georgia's going to run the balls off St. Louis. Shout out St. Louis. They've had a hell of a season, but they're not going to come anywhere near Georgia. And I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia upsets Michigan, but Michigan has such an easy path. Akron, Texas. This is my favorite 5-12. I really, really want to go Akron here. but Texas Tech plays pretty good defense. I was looking at the numbers. Texas Tech, 33rd in defense and 12th in offense. Now, obviously, some of this is skewed because of JT Toppin. Matter of fact, y'all, man, this team launches from three. They're 4th in three-point percentage. They don't get to the line very much, though. All right, we're walking through this together because I'm realizing I might actually want. So Akron's tempo is pretty quick. That's what scares me. Is I like slower paced teams because once you get to this point, the game slows down. You know, they're pretty good on offense, 54th. They're not great on defense, though, is kind of what scares me. Especially because now actually they do defend the 3-ball well. That's interesting. They defend the 3-ball well. They also shoot the 3-ball well. They get to the line at a decent rate. They're okay at rebounding. Okay. Their strength of schedule is awful, though. It is so bad. Lost to Troy, lost to Miami, Ohio, got killed by Purdue. But what are we talking about, bro? Texas Tech without Toppin ain't Purdue. Yeah, give me Akron. Give me Akron here. Alabama, Hofstra, give me Hofstra. No Holloway after the the drug charges. This is a game where, LeBaron Philon might be a tourney-made player. He might ball out. Hofstra shoots lights out. They're playing phenomenal. Alabama has the fastest pace in basketball. And again, I like when you have to slow things down. Hofstra has pretty solid defense. They defend the 3-ball okay. But they also, like I said, they shoot the 3 lights out. They don't shoot very great inside, so I just need Hofstra to go crazy here. They're really good on offense in not allowing steals, so that's also going to help with Alabama's fast pace. But, I mean, again, another hot, I mean, maybe the hottest mid-major team in the league right now. They lost by 4 to UCF. And I could see UCF beating Bama. As now this is the beginning of the season, but yeah, off vibes. Let's go Hofstra. Give me Akron Hofstra here. Give me the 12-13. That's fun. I'm trying to have fun with it. Okay, Miami, Ohio, SMU. Let's see who won that game. Miami, Ohio won. So Miami, Ohio is moving on. Shout out to them. Everyone had SMU, myself included. Tennessee's getting the job regardless. Tennessee's nice, y'all. They're underrated. Best 6 seed out here. Virginia and Wright State. The Midwest sucks, y'all. This region sucks. I like Virginia, though. I'm very tempted to go Wright State. Let me look at Wright State. Wright State is super, super tempting. But I'm probably going to go Virginia. Virginia's been hot. Wright State's super tempting. Horrible defense, though. Yeah, give me Virginia pretty convincingly. Kentucky, Santa Clara. I don't know why people are going Santa Clara. Kentucky's one of the most underrated teams of the league. They've been getting it figured out lately. And another hot team. Give me Kentucky. Iowa State over Tennessee State. Shout out Tennessee State, but it ain't happening. Michigan and Georgia. I really want to go Georgia here. I actually like this team. They shoot the ball well. They play pretty quick. But they don't defend very well, and they don't play defense. Michigan has like the number 1 defense, if I'm not mistaken. And they're big. Yep, number 1 defense, number 8 offense. They play at a fast tempo though. So that worries me a little bit. But they shoot the ball really well. They hold teams from shooting the ball well. Yeah, I mean, it's just Michigan analytically is similar to Duke, and they're phenomenal. My biggest concern is I don't trust Elliot Cadeau, former Tar Heel. He should have stayed at UNC. He was playing a lot better there. And with them losing their main guard or their backup guard, it kind of runs all on him. So I'm gonna go Michigan, but I don't love Michigan. I don't love Michigan, even though analytically they're great. Akron Hofstra, give me Hofstra. This is gonna be the 13 seed that kills it, bro. Hofstra's shooting lights out. Let's continue that streak here. Tennessee, Virginia. This is interesting. I've been back and forth on it. I think I'm going Tennessee though. I like Tennessee a lot. Iowa State, one of the best teams in college basketball right now. They can go streaky. There's, if they go cold, I could see a Kentucky getting a dub here. I could see Tennessee getting a dub here, and I'm almost tempted to take them. Let's start here, go Michigan pretty easily. I almost can see Tennessee here. Let's go Iowa State. Iowa State, and we'll go Iowa State here. So we have Arizona, Iowa State, UConn, and Houston. Do I love it? No. I almost want to go Duke over UConn, but I think Duke's going to have some injury issues. And I think UConn's underrated. Duke or UConn, that's the toughest one for me. The East isn't the toughest region, but it's the toughest to predict, in my opinion. Just because literally upset. 215 could be an upset here. I could have UConn going to my Final Four and they lose in the first round. UCLA, UCF. I could have UCF winning here. North Dakota State, Michigan. I could talk myself into North Dakota State. Everybody's going South Florida over Louisville. Cal Baptist, Kansas, maybe the only one. Again, like I could convince myself on all of these except for Duke Siena. I'm going to go. Caleb Foster's not going to be back till the Final Four at least. So I'm going to go UConn. I don't know if Caden Boozer can hold it down at the point guard. Duke's defense is so good, though. Don't sleep on Duke. Final Four. This is interesting. I got 3 2 seeds and 1 1 seed. Arizona's smoking Iowa State. Maybe not smoking, but they're getting past them pretty convincingly. And then UConn, Houston. Give me Houston to get the job done. And Arizona's going to beat Houston. Houston's going to lose in the championship for the second year in a row. And it's going to be a defensive battle. Let's go 136. Unless it goes to overtime. I could see it being close, though, yo. Arizona's the best team in basketball, though. Like, if they stay healthy, I think they're going to run through. Like, they actually might have one of the harder routes, which concerns me. Duke, I'd probably rather have Duke's route just because I think UConn's a lot tougher than Purdue. I almost want to have Purdue losing like to Miami, but I just can't do it. Real quick before we end this episode, this bracket doesn't look like any of my other brackets, which I kind of love. I want it to be kind of different. But so we're gonna briefly go over my favorite upset in every matchup. So my favorite 116 is gonna be Michigan and Howard. Okay. My favorite 215 is UConn Furman, even though I have UConn going to the Final Four. Again, like I could see UConn losing first or second round. That's what scares me. My favorite 3-14's probably Gonzaga, Kennesaw State. Probably Gonzaga, Kennesaw State, or Virginia Wright State. I'm gonna say Gonzaga, Kennesaw State though, even though Kennesaw State's not super great. My favorite 4-13 is actually probably Arkansas, Hawaii. No. Hofstra, Bama, easy. Nebraska, Troy, honorable mention. 4-13 is not bad actually though, because I can convince myself of Kansas. No, I can't. Let me stop. Let me chill. Arkansas, Hawaii though, like all of them, but the Kansas Cal Baptist. That's tough. But yeah, I like the Bama Hofstra more. My favorite 5-12 is Texas Tech and Akron. McNeese is intriguing, but Vandy takes care of the ball. Northern Iowa is intriguing, but St. John's defense and pace is too good. High Point, that's a trap. Everyone's telling you to take it. Please do not. You're going to lose your bracket. My favorite 6-11 probably is Texas over BYU. If I were to say, or I could maybe be convinced South Florida and Louisville. My favorite 7-10, probably UCF over UCLA. I think it's kind of fun because I love UCLA so much. So I just know that that UCF's going to win. Santa Clara and Kentucky is a good one too, though. And then my favorite 8-9, y'all, is the Ohio State TCU, and we're starting off with that one. I can't wait to lose my first one. So that's the bracket for y'all. And yeah, we missed the worst week to miss last week. A little bit of traveling, a little bit of dealing with some things. So we weren't able to get an episode out for you guys. This is going to be the first episode this week. And then we're also going to get an episode out to you tomorrow, recapping some NFL free agency stuff. So make sure to tune into that. If you made it this far, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and tell a friend to tell a friend. We out. Peace.